Hey everyone, this is Larsh, and I am your casual mech warrior. So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and do another update for OBS recording software. I did one of these videos last year. I went really in depth, and then I did an update to that video recently, a few months back, going over the settings and especially the area in the advanced settings, since I tweaked the hell out of this thing. So I guess in the last video I felt really bad because my tweaking went a little overboard, and granted I titled it Lossless Game Recording, which it wasn't completely false. You could get some lossless game footage it looked, basically looked really crisp and all that. But I found out that the settings, whenever I used them for about 3 or 4 months, I forget how long it actually was, honestly, that my gameplay was still getting choppy in-game and actually on the recordings. So I wanted to go ahead and do some more research, and I actually took down all of my prior OBS recording videos that go over settings, except for the one for streaming. I haven't changed that one. But today I'm going to go ahead and go over some settings that I found online from a YouTuber named Camille R. You're awesome. I borrowed a few of your things, I changed a few things, so I kind of want to go over my settings to show you guys what I'm doing. So now, of course, the game that I play mostly is Mechwarrior Online. This game is a real CPU intensive game. It's not the kind of game where it's going to be real based off of your graphics card. They do a lot of CPU usage, and I've heard multiple reasons for that. I've had one reason, I guess, that, since there's so many more hard points to your mech, it's not like a first-person shooter, so they have to put a lot of CPU power to have every single hitbox and all that. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it is. But either way, with other settings, with OBS recording and with Mechwarrior Online, your CPU load is very heavy. Now, I'm not going to go over the full specs of my system. I'll just put them down below in the main video description if you want to see what I have to kind of base it off of yours. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you my settings in OBS, and then I will try to put in some example footage either in this video or after I do the settings here, so you can kind of see what I'm getting at. So what I do here is I just keep it on the X264, quality balance of 10, and a max bit rate of only 1000. So before you go ahead and say, well, the 1000's not a whole lot, I do over 9000 and all that good stuff. Well, I'm going to show you real soon why you don't really need to do a max bit rate of that high of a bit rate. I know I was doing it for a while, and I think that was an issue causing my slowdown. Also, keep in mind too is that when you're doing these bit rates, you are doing a data transfer to your hard drive. I could go into data rates for various hard drives, but that would just take a while. But please keep in mind when you are doing recording with this software that you are trying to, match the, the actual data transfer of your hard drive. If you put it too high, you might have some issues. Also, the speed of your hard drive too. Keep an eye out for that. Which I guess I'll put the actual hard drive that I bought down in the description, since I've just gone over that. Custom buffer size, I just keep it checked, and I put that back down on 0 actually. So broadcast settings, the file path, just go ahead and browse to a folder on your hard drive. Best to use MP4 and then give it a name. I have mine as just raw.mp4, and whenever you do more than one file, it will put a number after it. So after this one, it'll be raw2 and then raw3 and so on and so on. After that, video, I am now running on a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. This is actually a newer budget card that came out. I think I purchased that card for roughly $120, give or take, since they now have this new 10 series, and the 1050 Ti is their new budget card, but it works pretty well. I keep my screen resolution at the standard 1920 by 1080, and I don't do any downscaling. Just keep it the way it is, and I do a recording of 60 frames per second. Audio, just choose your device, choose your microphone. You typically don't need to change any of this typically, so just kind of don't touch it. Okay, no need to. Hotkeys, I do use a hotkey, not for this video because I don't want to hold my button down the whole entire time while I talk, but in game I do use a hotkey for the audio recording of my voice. That is useful. Okay, this is when now the advanced section, this is when it all comes down to everything, okay? So general, just keep this multi-thread checkbox, keep it checked. I have my class priority as above normal. Screen buffering time, I keep that at 700, and check the allow other modifiers on hotkeys if you do that. The preset, I keep this thing on ultra fast. So if you're not too familiar with presets, it's going to sound a little backwards, but if your CPU is slower or older, kind of like mine, you can put it on these like faster, very fast, super fast, and ultra fast. That's going to not really have your CPU work a whole lot on the recording. If you have a newer CPU, you can kind of go down to like the, fast, medium. I don't really know anyone who uses the slower, but when it's slower, it tells the CPU to slow down, take its time, and really grind through the process work of your video. Honestly, ultra fast just tends to work just fine for mine. By default, it's going to be on, I think, faster. It may complain and say, do you really want to do ultra fast? Yeah, just let it do ultra fast. Let it do its thing. I have the encoding profile on mine is high, and then the keyframe interval is 2. I don't really know many people who tweak it. I know 0 is the auto. I don't really know. Like I read somewhere that people put it as 2, so I put it as 2. I see minimal difference, honestly, when you change it from 0 to 2. And then I actually uncheck this CFR, stands for constant frame rate. I just go ahead and uncheck it because then I go ahead and use the advanced section. So if you did see the last video, this thing was full. I had so much crap in here, and then I thought I was being the cool kid here on YouTube and making all this stuff look pretty. So instead, I went down and just used 2 settings. I use CRF equals 17 followed by a space, tune equals animation. Okay. To go over this real quick, I'm going to go ahead and bring over a chart. Bam. Okay, what is constant rate factor? This is the CRF equals 17. So, constant rate factor is the default quality and rate control for the X264 encode that you do from your first setting from OBS. You can actually set this thing from 0 to 51, all right? So mine's 17, so it's right in between the 0 to 18, with 0 being completely lossless footage, and 51 being utter and complete garbage. Pixelated, muddy looking, that kind of thing. So, like I said, my machine is not exactly the best thing on the face of the earth, but I can put it at 17 and still get decent frames on this thing. So I have that coupled with tune animation. Animation, I'm not going to go a whole lot into it to bore you guys, but tune, you can have it as a PSNR as one other option. There's a few other ones, but animation, it's something like it basically works best to compile like fast moving objects or like large solid objects that are like one solid color. So I put that in there. It does help the process go a little bit smoother, so it's not just relying on that CRF equals 17. So that kind of goes over the bulk of OBS. If you want to go ahead and stop watching right now, by all means go ahead. If you want to stay tuned for the Mechwarrior Online section of this video, I'm going to go over my settings and how the video looks in there as well. And then maybe even next week, I'm going to go over the settings I use in Adobe Premiere to possibly get 1080 to almost 4K exports on your videos. Even if you don't need 4K, it can look really pretty and make for a better video sometimes. So if you want to stay tuned for that, that's going to be like part 3 if you count the Mechwarrior, or part 2 if you're going to skip over the Mechwarrior stuff. So anyway guys, onward to the next part, or if not, catch you next week. Alright everyone, and if you stayed with me here because you're a Mechwarrior fan, congrats and thank you for wanting to see this portion of the video. So, I guess to kind of go along with the OBS settings, the only thing we're really going to be concerned about is the video portion. So, for Mechwarrior Online, for recording the videos, or even streaming the videos, I try to keep this I try to keep this 1920 by 1080 up there by the same. I do a full window. I don't use any motion blur, but I do use the VSync. If you don't know what VSync is the option that keeps your game at 60 frames a second and no higher. If you have this thing as off, and if you have a decent graphics card or a decent computer, you will be getting nearly 80, 100 plus frames a second. If your machine can actually handle that plus recording, then go for it. I applaud you, because I cannot. So, because of my machine is about mid-range, I only keep the effects and detail, texturing, and environment at medium. I don't do high. I found out that in-game, I did try having the effects and the texturing and effects were at high, and these two were at medium, and it kind of began to chug it. And the anti-aliasing, whatever, I keep that at FXAA. I had it at off. Off puts it real crisp and clear, but some things can look a little jaggy. I did have it at this post AA, but I was getting some slight ghosting effects. FXAA seems to work best on my machine, and it might work the best for you as well. I think it's a anti-aliasing whatever at like a lower quality. Because if you go MS and TX, those are higher quality ones, and it might make your computer chug. I actually haven't tried them, to be honest. I've been too afraid to, and too much of a chicken to go ahead and try these two other options. But as you can see, we are recording right now. If I wasn't, you wouldn't be able to see this. And in the top right hand corner, I have the frames per second, and it's actually staying at a steady 60-59, and we're on terra firma, all right. And this is one of the most graphically intensive maps in the game. So it's not that bad. Now, granted, we are the only mech along with these ones that you can shoot at. So there's not a lot of processing power going through my machine right now because it's not having to calculate every other player and every other, hitbox for those players. So when you are by yourself and you're in like testing grounds, or you want to make a video, that's a tutorial, it's gonna look great. It's gonna look fantastic. All right. So you will be getting those 60 frames. But once you get in game and you are tinkering around with other players, and if you have like a full deck on each side, those frames will go from roughly about 60. And then it might bounce down to about 40. I've had experiences where it might dip down to, I want to say, like a minimum of like 35. And oddly enough, it's never on terra firma. It's almost on maps like River City and maps that have water and trees. The more trees I found, the more this game chugs. So you are bound to get some pretty decent frame rate if you don't mind dipping down to a minimum of 30, and it doesn't happen often. Again, it's only on those few maps. So I think it works pretty well. So if you think this looks good, by all means, take these settings, go ahead and try them out. Once you do, let me know what you think, because I'm hoping it works out for you guys. And of course, kind of like how I said earlier, is that I do plan on showing my settings I use in Adobe Premiere and how to export a video in 1080 and I want to call it a fake 4K, because I know since I'm recording in 1080, but I'll give my reasoning for that during my next video. So until then, guys, hope this helped out, and keep it casual.